Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Dear friends, welcome to JCB Live. It's a new setup. I'm with a very charming, irresistible, talented, charismatic man that is known as the best distiller of California. Isn't it exciting, dear friends, that we are together with the famous Crispin Cain in the heart of Calistoga Distillery? We are making history today. We'll have another young man joining us that is at the origin of this project as well. And we are with Crispin. So, dear friends, I'm going to serve a glass, and I want for Crispin to tell you about him, very importantly. And how did you get into the art of distilling?
Art of distilling. I had the great good fortune first to move to Mendocino County. I took a job in a winery there. I moved there to get more involved in wine. And I took a job at a winery called Hidden Cellars.
Yeah.
And they were vinifying wine for Germain-Robin brandy. And I worked at the winery for a few years. And one day I got a phone call asking if I would come interview for the job as the brandy master's assistant.
And what did you say?
I said, first thing I said is, are you kidding me? Is this a joke, right?
You came for wine and we're proposing you brandy.
And so I went to the interview and I got the job with Hubert Germain-Robin.
And, sure. Another Frenchman. I'm sorry for
right.
that.
And that was at the tender age of 26 in 1989. And I worked for him for many years. And I also had the great good fortune to ask. The first day I worked for him, he said, one day we'll have to make bourbon. And I said, Hubert, you're making the best brandy in the whole United States, if not the world. Why would you want to make bourbon or whiskey? And he said, well, this is what Americans really want.
Well, let's have a toast to that.
Cheers.
So, dear friends, as you zoom in on this, you could see how gorgeous it is. So before we describe this unbelievable bourbon that you've made, what made you at 26 years old, you coming for wine and you say, wow, that's an opportunity, I'm going to do this. What convinced you? It's a big leap forward.
My grandfather ran a distillery in Minnesota. And for many years, I would hear stories from my aunts and uncles about the distillery. And I was always very curious about that from being a very young person. And then at the winery, I would see Hubert come and go, and the grapes would come in, the Pinot, the Sauvignon Blanc, the Chenin Blanc. And we were always instructed to be very careful. We would sort, we would crush, we would vinify. And he inspired me. His level of persistence and quality and demand. I wanted that sort of discipline in my life too.
Oh, I love it.
And so
you were daring and you took a big leap forward, and look at where you are today.
That's right.
It sounds like your last name too. You said Cain, C-A-I-N.
Right.
Was it modified as your family came from Ireland?
Yes, the name was modified.
A real Irish. Yeah, baby.
And our clan is O'Cain.
Oh, O'Cain.
That's right.
Wow.
And, the O'Cains had ancestral territory in the north, they're Donegal.
Yeah.
And, here I am today. A much longer story to get here, but I had also the great good fortune to be born in California.
For sure.
And
but it's amazing to come from such a clan, claim it, and never forget your ancestors.
That's right.
Well, we should have a toast to that.
Cheers.
So, we're going to go back to your fabulous life, but we're tasting now a phenomenal bourbon.
That's right.
A bourbon whiskey, EY. So give us, what is the definition of a bourbon? And whiskey bourbon, why is it with an EY and not just Y?
Well, an EY is a salute to my Irish ancestry.
That's right.
And that language.
That's how they spell it.
Right. And so I've kept that. It just seems to make sense to me. It's just natural. Bourbon. Bourbon, there's so many requirements with the law to be bourbon. It must be made in America, must be distilled from 3 grains. This is corn, malted barley, and malted rye. It must spend time in new charred oak barrels. And this is 6 years old. This is something we distilled in 2016 and bought it in 2022 for you.
Ooh.
That's your special request, which I was delighted to meet you and
Yeah, you should
do this with you.
Let's share how we met, because this was such a highlight in my life 5 years ago.
Yes.
At this amazing distiller convention in Sonoma.
In Sonoma, we met it at the Spirited trade show in early 2018. And it was focused mainly on the new small distilleries in Sonoma County, but the people organizing it asked us to come. And we did.
Well, he's the best, dear friend. So Mr. Crispin had to be there.
I was definitely the old man in the room as far as the distillers go. And they asked me to be in the anchor on their panel discussion. And then there was this fabulous Frenchman who was the keynote speaker. And I thought, who is this crazy Frenchman who is so fabulous?
Thank you.
And you introduced yourself to us.
I went around and I met Tamar, his beautiful wife, and Crispin, and I fell in love with their personality, dear friends, and their style. And within their style is being totally transported into this incredible beverage. Because you could try bourbon, but this is a special bourbon. So explain us why this is so vibrational.
So I have control over every step along the way. I have a background in winemaking, and I approach the fermentation from a winemaking perspective.
Yes.
I'm using not just enzymes, but champagne yeast.
That's right.
And champagne yeast is so good for distillation. Fermenting to dryness allows me to go into a direct fire pot still.
Yeah.
I have pot stills from Cognac that when Hubert retired, I was able to purchase, that I leased from them for many years.
In copper.
Yes.
Beautiful copper.
Beautiful.
Like what we see behind us.
So all of my second distillations are performed in an alembic pot still that was made in about 1800. Wow. And I was very good fortune to be able to use it and then to be able to purchase it. And then the secrets of distilling brandy and cognac, those unwritten portions of the lore that has passed from master to apprentice for many centuries, deciding the heart of the second distillation.
Yes.
And to deciding which portion is that, condensation temperatures, judicious use of the fire, understanding that our goal is top quality and never losing sight of that.
So, dear friends, Crispin is like a chef in the kitchen. The art of distilling is like winemaking, and often with another dimension. You know, we tend to often undermine distilling or brewing, for that matter, which is an enormous science. Here you have put your phenomenal personality and art into it. The beauty of it is we're sipping it right now.
Yes.
There's no ice. There's no exogenous component that could change the taste. This is the purity of it.
The purity of it, absolutely.
And we're loving it. So to tempt our friends, because I know they're going to their bars now and they say, I want it. We'll give you an opportunity to order it, of course, because we want to make sure you're part of the Sam Brannan Calistoga Distillery vision, thanks to Crispin. How would you describe this amazing whiskey bourbon from California?
This amazing bourbon whiskey, first of all, be prepared to be amazed when you try this, because you have not had bourbon like this. Yet I bring forward classic bourbon flavors just done very well. So you will find caramel and vanilla, the oak from Missouri and Kentucky. It's all there. And the malted grains I use in it are just very forward. And rye, there's rye in it, and so expect that. And it has a natural sweetness to it that comes from, fine fermentation, distilled very well. And you will be very pleased when you discover this.
So, Crispin, we are here in California.
Yes.
Some of your family came from the Midwest, as you said, from Ireland to New York, and obviously the usual route to the United States. Why, to you, is California so important and so great for distilled products?
Well, we are not bound by so many conventions. It's one of the reasons why Hubert was making brandy here, because the opportunity to be creative, to not be bound by lots of unwritten rules around making whiskey, which dictate different style of distillation, taking a larger heart where I'm taking a smaller heart, using pot stills in the way we do. It's important that we understand there's a certain freedom here.
That's right.
Yet we still adhere to tradition at the same time. And this is the magic.
I love it. And when you think, dear friends, where we are in this amazing Calistoga distillery, founded in 1868, really by the man himself, Sam Brannan, who made California what it is, and certainly the Napa Valley,
That's right.
is exciting for us because boundaries for him did not exist. And you just exemplified in your world and in your practical expression here what it's all about. So, Crispin, you've been in that world for the last, since 89, as you said. How have you seen distillation evolve in the state of California and in the U.S. at large?
There are many people starting new distilleries. There are many people experimenting with different methods, different kinds of stills.
Yes.
There are varying degrees of success. And with so many small distilleries, sometimes it seems difficult to hold our head above the fray.
Yes.
But, we rely on the opinion of others. I can decide this is wonderful, but if the rest of the world doesn't agree, I have a barrel of whiskey and a party and nothing more.
Well, so who you call for the party.
This is the responsibility that comes with it.
Sure.
Is to understand that several things can make us stand out from the entire crowd.
Yes.
And this is what's happened. There's so many small distilleries. When I began distilling with Germain-Robin, there might have been 150 to 200 people in the entire United States making all the distilled spirits that we drink, everything from big production to the very few small distilleries. And now that small distilleries have expanded, there's thousands and thousands of people in the world. It isn't just the United States.
That's right.
And so to reach for that higher mark, to rely on blind tasting competitions, competent critics, and listening to the consumer, finding what they want and doing that very, very well. This is my task.
Yeah, I love it. What a task, dear friends. And now, before we bring our wonderful Brian Maloney as well, who's been so involved in this, you're working with your wonderful wife. And I find that very exciting. Obviously, it's Women's Month. I was very involved with my grandparents, mother, sister, wife today, soon children, who are ladies. How is it for you as you distill spirits, you taste spirits? How does, the contribution of Tamar really plays a role?
I rely on her first when I create a product, when I distill something new, and we're producing what we produce. I rely on her palate, her opinion, her reflection. I rely on her for so much. She is vice president of our company.
Yes.
Very worthy of the title. And without the team that we are, it just wouldn't be
the same.
So
when you say rely on her on all those, I speak a lot about the woman in wine because we have an enormous and fantastic ladies team as winemakers as well. And I've tasted wine with ladies all my life. and they contribute a tremendous amount in terms of flavor, sophistication, finesse, and length in wine. You know, and for wine, it's extraordinary. Would you share with everyone how, on the palate per se, you think the balance with your wife really works and what she brings to you in terms of organoleptic flavor, aroma, and all that?
Well, first of all, she's willing to give me a frank opinion.
Okay.
This is essential.
So honesty.
Honesty.
That helps.
It really helps. It really helps. And then, you know, I have, obviously, I have my taste in things, and she brings her taste in things to the table.
Yes.
And this, the combination makes a huge difference. Understanding from Tamar how she experiences whiskey. One of the things that we found is women tend to like our whiskey.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of feedback from women, and it started with Tamar.
And why do they like it?
They like
Why all our ladies watching, because we have millions tonight.
They like it because it is pleasant. Mid-palate is absolutely wonderful.
I agree.
And the length in there is fantastic. I've had so many women at to visit the distillery, at trade shows, etc., say to me, I really like the fact that you've created a whiskey, a bourbon that I can share with my women friends. This is really wonderful. I didn't like bourbon before I tried this.
Yes.
And so it's very essential to create products for everybody, not just
Ourselves.
us manly men. That's right.
No, for sure.
But including them. And this is International Women's Day today.
Exactly.
And so I'm proud to create products that please women.
And I'm so thrilled because, dear friends, we had the opportunity to taste with a lot of ladies this incredible range, and it's very true. You know, ladies are loving it, and they sign up for the waiting list to be part of the member list, which is so exciting. So I think it would be really exciting to ask Mr. Malone, Mr. Brian Maloney, who is actually a young man almost born in this beautiful town of Calistoga, to be part of this discussion because it's been part of it since day one.
Thank you, John Charles. And Crispin, I have a little gift as a member of our family.
Oh, wow.
What is that?
What is that?
Well, John Charles, I would think you recognize your
Is it-
socks.
Yeah, oh, so you know, you all need to be part of the Red Sox Society. That's very important. Crispin came with beautiful socks of wool because of the weather conditions, but now he's going to have French Scottish yarn.
Oh, thank you
Well,
so
what a
much.
thoughtful-
This is fantastic. Very thoughtful. Yes.
Well, we may have something for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, look at this. So give us your description of this amazing bourbon whiskey. In fact,
A little bit more.
you know, we could use a little more, can we not?
It's absolutely beautiful on the nose.
So, dear friends, as you get to learn about Crispin, you've met many times Brian Maloney, who heads Old Buena Vista and Deloach and contributes to the phenomenal wines of JCB and beyond. Brian, why do you want to be involved in spirits? What does it mean to you? Because you've loved it since day one.
Well, it's that next level. I mean, it is aromatically a whole nother world, the palate, but also the complexity. And that's what I've loved about working with Crispin. I mean, going back 4 or 5 years now, to those very first conversations, realizing that this, you know, as a winemaker, we deal with that primary fermentation. And what Crispin is doing is capturing and concentrating and really letting evolve all those aromatics, all those feels to that next level. So this is, you know, it's spirits. It is, you know, the higher calling.
That's right. That's a high calling. And go elaborate on that. Brian graduated from UC Davis, obviously top of his class, was raised in Sonoma for 5 generations on an amazing ranch, so he knows cattle and everything that goes with agriculture, has been leading the wineries of Deloach and Buena Vista now for 20 years. Why do you say it's the next level? Why do you say it's the high calling? Because I relate with you immensely on that.
Well, I really think when you look at what we're doing with spirits here, right? We are capturing the purest essences, and how Crispin approaches it. I fully commend and admire every single one of these steps, because it is about starting with pure, clean fermentations, which is important as a winemaker. But then paying attention to that distillation step every step along the way, and then the aging. I mean, diving into your barrels and seeing how each one of those barrels is influenced by not only the spirit that's in it, but the evolution over time. I mean, those, how old, 200-year-old cognac barrels you have?
It's
130-year-old cognac barrels. And tasting
We were
what...
born anyhow, don't you think?
That's right.
But tasting those and seeing how every single liquid that has touched that barrel has influenced the next one. It's something that it is beyond what we do as winemakers.
That's
and
right.
I think it's absolutely fantastic.
And how long for our friends to know, can a barrel go?
Oh, well, if it's cared for and spirits are contained inside, I think it might last forever. It's amazing. So ultimately, I haven't seen one wear out, so I don't know.
So when you come to the depot, which you will be invited very soon, dear friends, Crispin barrels are here in one of our phenomenal secret barrel room, where you'll actually be able to taste on barrel this expression. Brian, how long does a barrel last in the wine warrant?
Well, typically we retire after 5-6 years, but if we have a good partner like Crispin, they can go on forever.
And how much is a barrel?
Well, a good French oak barrel these days is quite dear.
Yes.
So,
$1,500.
Easily.
So, ladies, when you go out with a Frenchman, expect the best. Oh, that was easy. So I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, I know the whole of God, we call it le trône de Dieu. The whole of God is easy to absorb. The next beverage I really recommend is the rye malt whiskey. Because then we'll do the slow gin. I feel it's so exciting, and I know we're not rinsing as much, but we don't need to because why don't we need to?
Because it's wonderful.
Exactly.
It's simply wonderful.
If the show lasts 2 hours, you're going to see us under the bar. That's what's going to happen.
That's right.
So, dear friends, now we're tasting something quite different.
Right. This rye malt whiskey is based on an old family recipe. My Uncle Frank made sure I had before he passed away at the age of 91 in 2011. And it took time for me to get here, but this is a blend of actually rye malt whiskey and a little bit of wheat malt whiskey.
Ah, that's the secret.
That's part of the secret.
Don't give a percentage.
No, I won't.
You'll have to pay beaucoup dollars for that.
It's priceless. You can't get it from me.
That's right.
And the rye was made from 100% malted rye, the wheat from 100% malted wheat. This is just fantastic whiskey. The rye I aged for between 24 and 30 months in New American oak, and then transferred to use cognac barrels for extended aging.
Yes.
And this is one of the things that makes it so wonderful. Well, among the things that makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Well, your touch. The recipe, did you tweak it a little bit? It's like in the kitchen, you follow the chef's recipe, but you add a few things.
I'm pretty close, but made it my own just the same. Absolutely.
I can tell there's a little Crispin touch.
And, well,
there's a little Buena Vista.
there's a little
That's
Buena
right.
Vista. That's the next thing to say. Yeah.
That's the important part. Is what's Buena Vista contribution, Mr. Count?
Well, when we first started working together, one of our goals was to use some of those old wine barrels, and we took one of our private reserve Cabernet Sauvignon barrels and sent it to Crispin, and he made it something absolutely exceptional in this.
So first I started with, I got the barrel in April of 18, and I had rye malt whiskey that I had made in 2014. So at that point, I took a portion of that out of one of the cognac barrels and put it into the Cabernet barrel for more time. And this was really wonderful. And I thought about it more. Originally, I thought about providing you with straight rye whiskey. But then I decided I'm making these blends and they're really, really wonderful. And this is kicking it up a notch. And so we did it.
We had to seduce Tamar a little more. It took a lot of twisting. But which is amazing is we have probably one of the best whiskey ever made in California. Would you say so?
I would absolutely say so.
And
yes.
Dear friends, I don't want to be cocky. I don't want to be pretentious. I've been observing for the last 6 to 8 years those gentlemen working together, and we are creating something exceptional. This is to mark history. This is to brand history forever. We are fortunate, and I hope you feel it, that we have the possibility to do this. And we're putting the name of Calistoga Napa Valley to this amazing, phenomenal brand that we're creating together. And it has to be the top. And I really commend you for this collaboration, because aren't we better collaborating than being alone in a corner?
Absolutely, yes.
And what makes us so much better, and why?
Well, I think we bring our strengths together, and it's 1 + 1 actually equals more than 2.
Absolutely, we're greater than the sum of our parts, and together is where magic happens.
And now, Brian, I was asking Crispin, the evolution of the world of spirits and distillation. No one like us is doing it in Napa Valley as we are. Where do you see this? And maybe, I hate to acknowledge it, even though we're very young, you may be a decade younger than we are. So where do you see your generation and the younger crowd coming after us?
Well, I see this exploration into craft spirits just exploding more and more, and really taking on a bit of that wine type of aspect, where we're looking at terroirs, where we're looking at where is the sourcing coming from, where are those barrels coming from, where is that grain coming from, because we want to be able to capture it in this glass, which this does beautifully. All the unique elements that sourcing allows to be expanded on.
And Crispin, when you look at your material, obviously it starts in the field, right? Corn and rye and all those beautiful agricultural products that you transform. What's your approach there? Because you're a terroirist like we are. He's a terrorist, I'm a terroirist.
So I talk to my suppliers, I ask for samples, we look at the raw materials, I ask all the technical questions, and choose the best. And every link in this chain, from the moment I'm buying raw materials to make whiskey to the day we're opening this bottle, is so important. There is not a weak link in this chain ever.
That's right.
And this is
And explain as well to our friends. A lot of the questions I face personally, talking to people all the time about distilled spirits now, is they say to me, oh, it doesn't really matter the ingredients you have. You distill at such a high temperature, and all of this, does it really matter? So explain us why it really matters.
It really matters. We could willy-nilly go buy some grain, buy some malt, whatever it is, and decide to mash it up and cook it up. I will tell you, some of the cautions I see in the world, Jacques-Charles, are and I see videos online and whatnot, and people are fermenting for a week, and then we're distilling.
That's right.
And it makes a huge difference to see to all the ends of fermentation. And what happens inside the still, now you get a little technical on it, what happens inside the still when the mash is not fermented completely, and even if this is true of brandy, if the wine isn't dry and you put it in the still, you won't get a steady boiling point. It'll bounce up and down, and it won't fractionate very well. And what I expect is clean fractionation, especially in the second distillation, between head, heart, and tail.
So, dear friends, head, heart, and tail. Remember, we did perfume fragrance classes together. Many of you were with me. And we look at fragrance in the same way. within the 3 to the 5 levels of the human body. And you could correlate them to your chakras if you wish. I know there's a lot of yogi out there.
Yes.
It's the same thing as far as spirituality. So
absolutely. I mean, this is the heart of alchemy, is what we're really talking about.
we are alchemists here. So
Correct.
be part of our club.
Very good. Very good. So sourcing ingredients is very important to select the best and to go after that and not give up. So in some cases, I spent more than 2 years looking for the right thing, looking for the right rye malts, that sort of thing. And then, I will tell you not just distillation, but what happens after,
Yeah.
right? We are allowed to put coloring in it and all sorts of things, but the only thing I'm putting in these products after distillation is water and the barrel. So choosing the barrel is really essential.
And the best water, obviously.
The best water is rainwater,
Yeah.
And filtering that.
To bring it to the right measurements, right, in terms of pH and all that. which you
pH and
adjust.
alcohol content. Bourbon, for example, I'm required to add water right away to bring it down to 60 to 62.5% for barrel aged.
Yeah.
And so I'm distilling, when we're done distilling, we're 70%, just like Cognac.
Yeah.
Because I'm using the same distillation method they use on Cognac.
Which is
Just like I was
the best.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. So it's very important to pay attention to all of those details.
Can you imagine, dear friends, we talk a lot about the complexity of wine, and you see us as wine people, but the distillation is so exciting because why do we get so excited, Brian? Explain one more time in a different way why we're so overjoyed to transform, and I'm going to say it, your muesli in the morning, corn, wheat, right, barley, sometimes beets even. When we do vodkas of high level, I know we make the JCB vodka with grapes, so it's Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and then we distill. But you would be surprised that a basic field that you've not looked at in a very positive, luxurious way, that you think it's only feeding animals, it's only making French fries like potatoes, could actually be something extremely luxurious if you know how to transform it.
I think when it comes down to it, it's the capture, right? We are capturing the essence of the purity of those ingredients, the quality of those ingredients, the origin of those ingredients, and being able to see it captured and put into this bottle and be timeless it's one of the reasons that I think people become so attracted to wine, because we are capturing what has happened in that season. And it is the same thing that's happening in these spirits, but just on a whole nother level because of the distillation steps and also the different parts of your craft that you're able to bring to.
So, dear friends, last moment, stay with us for the next few minutes. We have something extremely special to show you. You won't believe, and you all love gin. We know the trend of gin is endless. Gin is very eloquent, very complex to make, very precise. It's haute joaillerie. It's like haute couture because there's so much to it in different steps. We've made this gin together. So you got to let us know, what does the term possibly barrel finished gin? Dear friends, barrel finished. Oh, gin in a barrel. Are you serious? Gin, which is amber color. This is the gold color. This is, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Is that gin?
So the transformation that happens with all these spirits in the barrel is a part of what is so amazing about it, and something we haven't discussed very much, but the transformation that happens with gin. So this is essentially dry gin that has been put in both Limousin oak and American oak,
Yeah.
and aged, and also Chardonnay barrel from Buena Vista.
Limousin is in France. Those are
Yes.
the most high-end barrels,
Yes.
typically for white wine, right? And Limousin is that forest that was actually planted in 11th, 12th, 13th century. So we're talking about enormous history in terms of the oak tree that we bring over in order to make this. So forgive me to interrupt, but
It's a very dense oak, It's very flavorful. It's something that oak I admire very, very much. And what it gives to spirits is nothing short of amazing. And what's happened with this, in this gin, there is juniper berries, coriander, cardamom, lemon peel, orange peel, grains of paradise, orris root, licorice root, rosemary, and cinnamon. And all of that goes into a 200-year-old cognac pot still with grain spirits made from a GMO-free corn from Quebec and organic wheat from Italy. That's what's in here. And this is distilled and makes a wonderful gin.
So you distilled at which level, Lawrence?
At which level? I'm distilling, so for me, this would be for the spirits, a third distillation.
Yeah.
It takes us, I will tell you, it takes us a day to put all the botanicals in the still in muslin bags, and then we come in early the next morning and fill it with spirits.
So that's what I wanted to get to. It's like tea.
Yes.
You put them in, so to speak, tea bags. Imagine you do that at home on an infusion. And that's how Crispin does it. So it's really labor intensive. It's all by hand. It's all about the way that you manage within each of those bags and where you position it to get this flavor.
Correct. Then in distillation, there is a point at which, that it comes to boil, and then the all the materials inside the still have to get hot enough too, and it takes 3 hours to get to the point where we're actually distilling gin to the place where we want to be, and then making that decision of where we're going to cut and decide not to collect more of that distillate. And I'll tell you, Jean-Charles, on that day, I'm not considering economics. I'm considering quality. I'm low. And this is the point. So the flavor comes over, and it'll reach a crest, and just the other side of that crest is where I cut.
Wow.
Many other distilleries are still collecting gin distillate after the point at which I cut.
So, love it. So explain what a cut is, because we're not talking about beef here.
Right.
We're talking about cut. And dear friends, I know we're getting technical, but I think that term is actually essential.
It is a point at which, in this case, where we decide to stop collecting the distillate, where I've decided the flavor we want is present in the distillate. Everything we need is present in the distillate, and it's both fantastic, it's wonderful, it's perfect, and we can't improve on that by distilling more, so we stop. And this is it. We've captured the essence we're looking for.
So, and it's beautiful. So, dear friends, to know if by any chance, at this moment, 2 hours later, Crispin thinks he's made a mistake, this is over.
That's right.
So, it's like surgery. You have 3 hours to basically transform this concoction that you've prepared to make it to the tills. It's like a sauce. If you make a reduction, a wine sauce, it takes you 48 hours. And after 48 hours, you're screwed up. You've got to start again. You'd better have another recipe for your guests.
Yes. So I'll tell you, 33 years ago, the first question...
The age of Christ.
The first question in the interview at the distillery was, can you cook? And my answer, of course, is I'm a fabulous cook.
Well, when are we coming? Maybe that's the next JCB Live.
That's right.
And can we actually have a dinner only with spirits?
Absolutely. Oh, it is perfect pairings.
So we should really develop some recipes for our friends, because I know you're all going to be interested in that. I mean, doing wine dinners, champagne dinners, we all for it, obviously. That's the DNA of who we are, but wouldn't it be fun to do this? So now, Mr. Malone, tell us about this gin and what you feel about, and how does it taste and how to taste it.
Well, I mean, I think tasting it like this is absolutely perfect. I mean, even at room temperature, without ice, without any, slice of lime, it is just floral. It is fruit. I mean, you get those citrus fruits coming out. I get that lemon peel beautifully. I also get that Chardonnay barrel. Just a hint of it in the
That's
background really provides a little bit of a textural element as well as the flavor profile of the Chardonnay coming out. So I think it's beautiful, but I will say I could see this with just a little bit of tonic water and a slice of lime being, quite nice in another month or so here in Calistoga.
So, how would you make your tonic water? Give us a little bit of maybe a suggestion of how to make it ourselves rather than just going to the store and buy the typical
John Charles,
aromatic, etc.
John Charles, I must admit, I need to have my friend Anthony come over if we're going to talk about it.
Of course, that's about time. So maybe
Let's get a real professional.
Maybe we're going to invite the real mixologist, because what happens after this step is we can drink it neat as we are.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Anthony Atanasio, dear friends. This is the four that are really creating magic in this world. We produce the wine in the barrels and the taste. We distill and we craft. We interview, because that's about the only thing I can do. And then we take it to the next steps. And we create what we call that very sophisticated word, mixology, which is quite amazing. And maybe you call it differently, Anthony. How do you call it?
I like the term liquid artist. Mixology is great, but I like to say what I do is an art, just like what Crispin does is clearly an art.
Yes.
But bartender is also great. Really, any term, as long as you have a nice cocktail at the end, works for me.
So what do you need to make a nice cocktail?
To make a nice cocktail, I think the start is great product. I mean, it's like anything, good wine, good food. You need to start with the best.
Yes.
And then you need to continually add the best ingredients. So the art of bartending, it's been around for hundreds of years. Originally it was a medicine. The gin and tonic is really one of the first cocktails invented.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you have proper ingredients coming from Mother Earth, you really can't go wrong. A little bit of practice goes a long way. Totally.
So, Anthony, we're going to do many shows with Anthony, obviously, because he is incredible and you're going to see him in full action. What we wanted his opinion on is a barrel-aged gin. What's your view and how would you use this?
Yeah, so barrel-aged gin, there's few and far between them. And I think it's because perfecting it is nearly impossible. I think what Crispin has done has shown that it is possible.
Yeah.
When you take a spirit like a gin, there's so many different styles as a category. This whole new Western world of gins, you get everything from citrus-driven to very juniper-heavy to herbal to mushroomy terroir-driven. So when you add the factor of a barrel, you really add a whole another layer that is unbeknownst to most of the spirit world. I love barrel-aged gin in winter cocktails. I think gin and tonics are great, especially Spanish style, where you have all the herbs.
Yeah.
A classic bijou or a Negroni is fantastic round.
Negroni, yes.
Yeah, so kind of when you add those darker flavor profiles, when you add a vermouth, when you add a bittering sensation to it, it really just, the gin itself adds that vanilla, that butterscotch, that caramel that just elongates the flavors of the rest of the ingredients.
Love it. So, Anthony, Brian wanted your contribution as well on the tonic water. Tell us, we're going to make our tonic water.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so tonic water is really fun to make because you can really play with the end result. Obviously, a classic tonic is quinine driven, but I think when you're making your own, you could actually make it based off of the gin. So I love the fact we use cinnamon as one of our botanicals. We can use cinnamon in the tonic that we're making. We can use different types of roots. We can use a little bit of citrus. So your final tonic not only does that carbonation, but it almost elongates the flavors that you find in the gin itself. So you can make it at your house. You have an ISI canister, a whipped cream canister, charge it with CO2, a little bit of water, there's bitter ingredients, and you're done in 10 minutes.
So I'm sure you've seen your parents, grandparents do it, or great-grandparents for that matter. This is what we used to do at home is our own tonic water.
Absolutely.
So very exciting. So dear friend, let's get closer together. So there's a sense of passion. Is there passion in this room?
Oh, yes.
So, dear friends, we are again in Calistoga, the heart of Napa Valley. This is where Sam Brannan, in 1868, ended up his terminus, his last train station. Next to it, he built a fabulous hotels and obviously the spa. You need to come to Calistoga for the benefits of the air. If you have asthma, it's beautiful air and very pure next to the volcano. And obviously, he built a distillery, a cognac distillery, a brandy distillery, and a whiskey distillery. And he built a brewery as well. So, Brian, in addition, why is Calistoga so exciting, besides you leading it and soon becoming the mayor?
I don't know about that. I just think it is one of the most unique and special places in all of California.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather, beautiful people, beautiful place to come and visit. And there's nothing better than coming to the depot these days and enjoying everything we have here.
So, Crispin and Tamar, because obviously Tamar is on the back label.
That's right.
She is part of the distillery as well. What would you like to say to our friends to inspire them to log in next time on the JCB Live when you come up?
Well, come and explore and learn from what we say and what will be said in the future. And especially come and experience the finest spirits you've ever had in your life.
Dear friends, what a statement. And I got to tell you, the moment I met each of those gentlemen, and Tamar, of course, we have skills, we have passion, we have quality, we have a willingness to transcend whatever you've known into the ultimate alchemist. So we're going to make all of you alchemists. You're going to want to blend, you're going to want to create, you're going to want to sip, you're going to want to be part of our world. So, dear friends, welcome to Calistoga Depot Distillery. And
Welcome.
Anthony, Brian, and Crispin, thank you for believing in us, and thank you for together creating the je ne sais quoi of the world of spirits. Santé. Cheers.
Santé.
Cheers.
Slanta.
How would we say that in the clan of the Irish?
Slanta.
Slanta.